Check in on the pulse of small business. It's a busy time of year as new data shows retail sales jumped nearly 4% in the holiday shopping period from a year ago. That's according to MasterCard. But small business owners still face, we know, a host of challenges, including the tariff threat from the incoming Trump administration. Joining us now is Mark Valentino, Citizens President and Head of Business Banking. Mark, it's great to see you. So listen, small business owners, Mark, you talk to a lot of them. I'm curious generally, Mark, when you do speak to them, how they're feeling right now. You know, is it positive? Is it optimistic? What's the mood like now, Mark, versus, let's say, 6 months ago, 12 months ago?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me here today, and happy holidays to everybody out there. I would say the mood is actually quite positive entering 2025. If you look back over the last 12 to 18 months, small businesses have been under tremendous pressure, whether it's high interest rates, high inflation, labor markets that were frozen coming out of COVID. And I think there's a lot of optimism entering 2025 with rates having come down, inflation cooling off a little bit entering the year. And so I think overall, small business owners are really optimistic. And I would say even optimistic about the change of administration, although there's a lot of uncertainties there that are certainly presented as well.
Yeah, what has led to the optimism under the change of administration? Is it the policies that they see? I mean, we talk a lot about the tariffs that could have significant impact on small businesses. What are you hearing from them about what they're feeling hopeful about?
Yeah, well, it's a tale of two stories. Obviously, you guys have talked a lot about the tariffs, and that could be a negative headwind, certainly, if we enter a trade war with China once again. And, you know, I don't think it's very clear whether there's a lot of rhetoric right now coming out of President-elect Trump or whether some policies are actually going to be rolled out. I think time has to tell. However, I think the potential for deregulation is actually one of the tailwinds that a lot of business owners are excited about. We saw the market kind of get ahead of that in the last few weeks, too. And I think for business owners, a little bit less regulation, possible relief on taxes being extended for several years is also positive.
Well, let's touch on taxes, Mark, because that's an interesting issue. Here's what the Ways and Means Committee said recently. They said American small businesses could be staring down our tax rate that will increase to 43.4% at the end of 2025 should Congress fail to act. I'm curious, when you're talking to small business owners, Mark, taxes, how much of that is an issue front and center they're bringing up?
Well, great question, Josh. So small business owners, basically what they take home is what they're able to provide for their families, right? And so taxes are a huge factor for small business owners, as are interest rates, as are potential tariffs. But taxes really is something that they can see very clearly in their bottom line, and it results in how much they're able to spend as consumers. And so it's a very hot topic for business owners right now. And I think there's a lot of excitement about potentially getting the tax cuts extended.
Finally, Mark, what stood out to me in your note, you talk about the tech gaps that still exist. You know, we have heard from even major companies who've talked about a bit of a pullback in investments in technology in the face of some uncertainty economically. Does it feel like that divide is getting bigger and bigger, especially as we see sort of the major companies, retailers level up in many ways on investments in tech, especially around AI? How are small businesses able to keep up?
Yeah, well, small business owners are quite resilient over the years, as we know, and it's a huge component of our economy. I think they're going to have to just be more resourceful going forward because they can't spend, to your point, Akiko, they cannot spend what the large retailers can spend on technology and digital solutions. However, they can still participate in the digital economy. So small business owners today have probably more access than ever before in terms of creating e-commerce platforms, in terms of entering kind of digital sales markets globally, not just here in the US. And I would also say that possibly AI could be an equalizer in some of the playing field. So for example, I think it's estimated today that about 50% of small business owners are already using AI in some component, whether it's just to service customers through chatbots or other process means of improvement. And so I do think that these emerging technologies could allow smaller players to actually play bigger than they actually are in the future.
Yeah, customer service increasingly becoming a use case there. Mark Valentino, good to talk to you today. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. You as well.